So although line isn't a thing that's necessarily altogether real, it defines boundaries. It's where one thing changes, right? It's an edge. The edge of this board is a line, right? I can draw a line, but it's really just a point that I've moved through time. So if you look at simple lines, they're easy to look at. Ooh, that line is clean. That car has clean lines, right? We're talking about the shaper and modeling that car, establishing that outermost line, or what's the most important line, and then building shape off of it. And then those shapes pierce and move into 3 dimensions and create form, right? Well, when lines aren't clean, they're harder to look at, take more time to look at, aren't as clean, but they have their place in this way. Sometimes it's nice to know how to do this. And so in drawing, that's really about a line. In 3-dimensional work, it's about an edge, right? So it's really important that we pay attention to our material and learn when can we get that edge. So if you look at this, I call this kind of the halfway test. You see, I'm holding this past halfway, more than half it's hanging out. And is it bending? It's not. If I want to bend it, I can, but I don't really want to bend it because I want it to be flat. So this is kind of the setup. And if I want my edge of something I'm building with, or something I'm going to build, like this cube, if I want the edge to be a clean line, if I want that edge to read as a really clean line, then I need to work with the material appropriately. Some of you have not yet really worked with clay when it's leather hard. And I can tell that because your edges aren't really clean. Like the edges of your slabs on your first assignment aren't all that clean. They're kind of muddled. And that's okay. But we need to start working with clay in all stages. So this is kind of called the setup. This one is kind of thinner than the rest, which I'm not so happy about, but it's okay. But see, again, it passes that halfway test, but I can still mark it with my fingernail, right? So that means it can still go together. It's a leather hard. It's definitely a true leather hard. So I'm setting this up to put together. Now, touching it really hard in one spot and not the other is not going to work out because we're looking again for a clean line. So that's the other thing with this clay being at the state that it's at, is that you really have to push hard on it to make an imperfection. If you start trying to make this cube out of clay that's too wet, it's just going to be flopping all around, and the edges of your cube are not going to be clean. So really important to work on clay through its dryness stages. It's going to affect the edge, right? And that's kind of a function of time, because there's an ease of looking at something that looks clean sometimes. All right, that might not always be the goal, but it's all related, these elements.